Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello and welcome to Transcending Sport on Wisp Sports Radio, brought to you by Highlands Earache Drops.
Have you been diagnosed with an earache by a physician? For natural relief due to earache pain, fever, irritability, and sleeplessness, try Highlands Homeopathic Earache Drops and Tablets. Highlands has been trusted for generations to provide safe, effective homeopathic medicines for all members of the family. There's no alcohol and no sting. You can get back to doing what you love. Go to highlands.com/ear-pain to find a retailer near you. That's highlands.com/ear-pain. Claims are based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence. Not FDA evaluated. Read and follow label directions.
Hello, I'm Chris Stafford, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage. Transcending Sport tells the story of women who've given back to sport to help others in different ways, from organisations to campaigns, business to sports administration, charities and media initiatives. My guest today is motor racing reporter Katie Hargitt, who, it's fair to say, landed her dream job as a pit reporter for IndyCar and IndyLights on NBCSN. She also produces and hosts a web show, Up to Speed, on IndyCar.com. Katie was born and raised in Indianapolis, so the fumes of motor racing run in her genes, and she's most at home on the racetrack. She also serves as a member of the public address team at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Katie started racing midgets herself at the age of 9 before moving on to Kenyon and Ford Focus midgets. 11 years of racing led her to reporting. And in 2011, her journey in broadcast journalism led her to doing what she loves in the pits. Immersed in the scene, Katie was acutely aware of the need to help women in the sport, and earlier this year she launched her latest project, Fuel the Female. The organisation aims to empower women to achieve their goals through motorsports with education, scholarship and mentorship. I caught up with Katie to hear what's next for the organisation and how women can get involved. Katie, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. It's great to finally get a chance to chat with you more about Fuel the Female and learn more about Wisp Sports, too.
Well, you're passionate about this, of course, because you live and breathe the fuel, the car fuel. I think you grew up around it, didn't you, out there in Indianapolis? So this is what you live for.
Yeah, I think maybe I breathed a little too much ethanol in my day. But I was born and raised in Indianapolis, which that may ring a bell to some people, the heart and soul of open-wheel motorsports with the Indianapolis 500. And when I was 9 years old, I started racing myself and raced all the way until I was 20 years old, and then kind of turned my sights towards becoming a motorsports reporter. And so now I'm 27. I've been hooked on the sport for 18 years now.
Was this something that was in the family then, Katie? Were you just immersed in it from a very young age?
It's hard not to be immersed in it, just simply being from Indianapolis. Where I grew up, you can hear the cars. I can remember listening to the Indianapolis 500 on radio because it's not broadcast live in Indianapolis. We have to, if we want to watch it on TV, it has to be later that evening. So I can remember listening to the cars and hearing it on the radio simultaneously. And then when I was 9, of course, started racing myself and attended races scattered throughout there. But my dad never raced. He wanted to, certainly. So he was just always a gearhead and always loved working on cars. So he had car kits and car projects that when we were growing up, specifically a Mustang that I loved, white with red leather interior. It was gorgeous. I always tell him I'll find it for him and buy it back someday. But he was just simply a gearhead and wanted to figure out how to get involved in motorsports at a different level other than just working on street cars. So that's how my sister and I ended up in quarter midgets.
So I guess if it runs in your veins, it's very hard not to have that drive, no pun intended, to continue in the sport in some shape or form. And you've very successfully transitioned to behind the, in front of the camera and behind the microphone now. And was that so that you could stay involved in the sport when you stopped driving? How did that transition really come about?
Yeah, so I knew, like you said, once you get into motorsports, you're in it. It's really hard to get out because it gets in your blood, and you live and you breathe motorsports every single day, and you just don't see a life outside of it. So when I was in college, we had to make the decision, was I going to keep racing or was I going to get an education? And decided that an education was the better path for me. For some others, it may be driving, but for me, getting an education was important. And I said, well, I love to talk. I love racing. Why not combine the two and learn the world of journalism and figure out how to tell people's stories? Because I also had gotten to know a lot of people in motorsports and thought it was important that they had such unique stories. So, let's find a way to tell these unique stories. And that's how I stumbled upon journalism.
Yeah, and that's often the way, isn't it, that we know the sport and we know the people in it and therefore have the credibility, and the athletes or the drivers, they trust the journalists then because they know you and they know that you're authentic and you have that street cred really, in the pits or in the barn, wherever it may be. It does give you a very different sort of sense of the sport and belonging, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know this firsthand from your equestrian days, but it is so important because there are so many nuances of every sport that if you're not immersed in them, you may not know them. So knowing those nuances firsthand, I think, is a great benefit to anybody.
Yeah, you have to be able to speak the of course, and clearly you do, and you're loving it now. Your role. Just talk a little bit about what you're actually doing now in front of the camera. What are your reporting roles right now, then, Katie?
I am currently working with NBC Sports as the IndyCar pit reporter as well as IndyLights pit reporter. But my days in front of the camera go back to when I first got out of first got out of driving and reported for USAC, the United States Auto Club here in the States, and did that for a little bit, worked in local news for a little bit, and then got a shot at coming on board with IndyCar Radio. And it's been uphill, I would like to think, ever since, now that I am with NBC Sports for the full Verizon IndyCar Series season.
Well, that must be great fun. Is that kind of the dream job for you?
I think that's an understatement. Like the day that I got the phone call, I was actually working in Grand Rapids, Michigan in the middle of winter. It was so cold. They get lake effect snow, so they get, there would be anywhere from 6 inches to 2 feet of snow overnight, every night. And I was working in news there, so I wasn't all that happy with my career at that point. And then I got the call from NBC Sports, and I walked in and I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm going to my dream job. And, to be able to work and live events that people save money to go to the Indianapolis 500 or to go to the Grand Prix of Long Beach. These are marquee events that are bucket list items for other people, but I get to live it and interact with those people and interact with the stars of the series. And I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to do exactly that.
It's tough being you then, Katie.
Man, let me tell you, it's a rough life, but somebody's got to do it, Chris.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm so glad you've stepped up, really, and you've become a role model for women, which leads us very nicely into the project that you started earlier this year, I believe it was, with Fuel the Female. And if anybody's interested to learn more, I should say right now we will have links on the show notes accompanying this episode, so you'll be able to find out how to reach Katie and Fuel the Female, and of course your social media links. So let's tell the story. How did it come about? Because it's really picking up some momentum already.
Yeah, so throughout my career, 18 years long, I've had a lot of really fantastic female mentors, from Lynn St. James. I was a part of her driver development program, to Jamie Little and Nicole Briscoe, all these really strong women figures within motorsports in the U.S. And I've always wanted to give back. I've always wanted to be those women, to feel like I was affecting the next generation of women in motorsports in a positive way. So just one day this winter, I woke up and said, you know what, now's the time. Let's do this. So I started talking to some people around me and figuring out what we could do. And it started out as just an idea of hosting this annual day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during the month of May, where we would invite girls out to kind of dip their toes in the water of motorsports. And the more I talked to women around me, the more I started to realize, and one in particular challenged me. She said, what do you really want this to be? You don't just want this to be an annual day. You want this to be an organization where you can impact thousands upon thousands of young girls to be successful in motorsports. So, and the more she challenged me, the more I really realized this is important to have in the U.S. and to have just successful women in motorsports. I mean, if you look at IndyCar right now, we have 6 full-time women in the series. And to put that in perspective, that's not even one full one-car team.
Wow.
So we really see the need for women in motorsports, because when you have a well-rounded team, you have a successful team. And I keep using this example because it's just a great one. You look at Scott Dixon. He's leading the championship right now by 62 points. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he has 2 female engineers. His fuel engineer is a woman, and one of the other assistant engineers is also a woman, because that team can have a very well-rounded view, right? Men are very straightforward thinking, whereas women tend to see the emotional side or the multitasking side of things and can challenge men in ways that other men won't challenge each other, whereas the men can challenge the women in ways that women wouldn't challenge each other. So
yeah, that's very interesting.
Scott, yeah, Scott's a perfect example right now of how having women on your team can be beneficial, because he's dominating this season.
Well, it's just an interesting comparison, actually, with sailing. I don't know if you followed the Volvo Ocean Race, but they recently, for this edition, latest edition that's just finished, they introduced a mixed gender rule. So there were women on every boat for the first time ever. And it did change the dynamics. But to your point, you know, that this mixed gender attitude to teams is a win-win situation, isn't it? And it gives the women experience alongside the men, who maybe have a lot more experience in some cases if women are coming to the career, you know, at the earlier stages of their career. So it's no surprise that they're winning as well, you know, because it does really change the dynamics of a team for the better, I think.
Isn't it amazing to hear you say, for the first time, they had a mixed gender team? That's amazing to me, that we still have to have this conversation of, hey, include us, include women. We can be successful, or she can be successful. I think every time I hear stories like that, it blows my mind. It's 2018.
Yes, exactly. We have come a long way in some sports, and in others we're only just starting to shift the sand. It's really quite incredible, as you say, given the time we're in. But I think that things are starting to pick up a real momentum, you know, with the campaigns that are happening, and with the initiatives like this, you know, coming back to Fuel the Female. This is obviously a very necessary, very needed initiative in your sport, Katie, because the women need somewhere to go. This is going to be a central home for them in a way, and the way you're empowering them with this organization. And just talk a little bit about what you're going to be offering now that you're seeing this bigger picture and the opportunities that would be available through it now, more than what you thought when you started.
Yeah, and just to kind of back that up a little bit, I mean, one of our women that's involved is a mechanic at Andretti Autosport, and only a few years ago was she offered a woman's shirt, and that wasn't at Andretti Autosport, so that I don't want that to reflect on them, but That's amazing too, that we just still have issues like that. But to go back to the programs that we want to have, so we have found, and research shows, that girls lose interest in STEM careers at age 11. That decline starts. So we have 3 different audiences that we need to tailor to, right? We have the pre-age 11 girls, where we continue that talk of STEM careers are important and you can achieve them. And then we have those middle school, high school girls that say, hey, you can do this, so that they don't have that massive drop off of I can't do this. And then we have the girls that are in late high school and college, and they just need some help. They need a scholarship or something like that. So we want to have education programs to educate women about STEM careers, not only STEM careers, but specifically STEM careers in motorsports like engineering and mechanics. And then you have these scholarship programs to help those girls get that education needed to enter motorsports. And once they're in motorsports, you have networking and mentorship roles where you can be supported for those girls that say, hey, I'm not being offered a women's shirt. What should I do? Or, hey, I'm kind of being bullied by this guy at the shop. How should I respond to him? Because once you get a strong network of women, I think you know firsthand probably, Chris, once you have a strong network of women, you can't stop us.
That's very true. It is really about providing that network and that go-to place for women, especially at the beginning of their career, when they really maybe just don't know how to play the game and really defend themselves, if they're feeling overpowered or intimidated at all by the men around them. So I think that's essential in I think in every sport, and it seems to me what you're doing here is going to have quite a ripple effect through the sport beyond the States in a way. I know you're focused on the States now, but this potentially could be much bigger.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger the better, right? And the more powerful women we have, I think, is always a good thing. So the more we can all band together. So any women out there listening, whether you're in soccer or tennis or equestrian or, any sport you're in, don't think that Fuel the Female is not for you, because we can still find a way to support one another. And, if you have an organization that you think we could be a good match with as far as affecting and impacting young women in a positive way, we would love to hear about that too, because the more girls we can get to say, hey, you can do it, I think the better for everyone.
And we'll be back with Katie right after this.
A world of triathlon from the sports dynamic duo. Listen to the Siri and Beck Show on Wisp Sports Radio.
Let's talk about the steps that if anyone is listening that they need to take to get involved with this, Katie. In 2 ways. How can they benefit from the scholarships, the programs that you're setting up, or how could they be involved in helping you with the organization?
Yeah, so right now we're in that fundraising stage, right? We need those funds in order to provide those scholarships. So that's a lot of work that's going on in the background right now to get those financial aspects of Fuel the Female together. So basically, if you are a woman who wants into motorsports, or if you're a woman in motorsports, reach out to us, follow us on social media, send us an email, check out our website at fuelthefemale.org. We would love to hear from you and hear your story. And if you are interested in partnering with us to benefit women in motorsports as well, of course, we would love to hear from you. All of our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, are Fuel the Female. Website, fuelthefemale.org. And our email, you guessed it, info@fuelthefemale.org. So pretty simple to remember. And I will get back to you as soon as I can, because I would love to hear your stories.
Well, that's fantastic. And as I said, we'll put those notes and links on the website too. And just to talk a little bit about who else is helping you right now, because it's a lot I know from my own experience of starting an organization or a business, who do you have behind you in the background working with you on this, Katie?
Yeah, so there's kind of a powerhouse of women behind me, right? So I've had the mentors that I've had along the way, like Lynn St. James, who, bounce ideas off of her. I've got Terry Lingner and his wife. Terry Lingner is my producer. They have been essential in helping me as well. And you would never guess it, but a woman by the name of Teresa Sabatine, she's actually in the film industry, but she was really, when I talk about that woman who continued to challenge me, that was her. So she has challenged me many times throughout this process. And I also have some board members that are helping me, some lawyers, making sure that we're keeping everything in line. And within motorsports, I've heard from many different women in many different series, but specifically women like Kara Adams, who is the chief engineer at Firestone, and Lisa Boggs, who is the director of motorsports at Firestone. They've been a great partner with us thus far, and hopefully we can partner in future events. But those are just a few of the women to name that have just been essential in helping us get the word out.
Will you plan on having a kind of directory on your website of these people, that it will help, I think, anyone visiting and wants to get to know more about you, but also the networking aspect of it, how they can find these other women, how they can reach out to them and engage.
Yeah, that's something that we're looking for as far as website development, is there a way that we can host resumes so that when teams say, hey, we're looking to hire somebody, we go through our database and say, oh, great, we've got these 10 female mechanics that you could interview if you would like, or look over their resumes if you would like? Or is there a way that we can say, hey, I want to be an engineer, click, okay, here's a list of engineers. So those are all programs that we are hoping to develop for the website, but I am not a website developer. Learning on the fly as far as website development, but those are all projects that we do hope to implement in the future. For now, the easiest way I would say is to email me and say, hey, can I connect with so-and-so? We're also doing some social media features. If you scroll through the news option on our website, you can see some of the features in the past and some of the really powerful women that we have featured thus far and still to come, too.
This is fantastic. There really are more women in the sport than I think anyone from outside the sport, like myself, ever appreciated. You've mentioned some names and some of the roles that they play. So it really is growing, isn't it? Then, I mean, as we've talked about before offline, Katie, we both know Nikki Daly. Of course, she's an engineer,
yes.
hockey player for Ireland, but at the moment, right? But also an engineer.
Multi-talented, Nikki.
Yes,
Nikki
definitely
is multi-talented.
She certainly is.
I met, like we said, just for other people that may recognize the Daly name, she is the niece of Derek Daly. But I sat next to Derek on a flight a few years ago because we were going out to, I believe it was to Long Beach, which is a cross-country flight, nearly cross-country flight from Indiana. And he was going to watch his son, Connor, race, and I was going as a reporter, of course. And you would think we would have talked about Connor, but actually the whole time we ended up talking about Nikki, who was working as an engineer for Juncos Racing, which is in the Mazda Road to Indy, and just how incredible she is, and the fact that she is also on Ireland's national team for hockey and competing in their World Cup right now. And she will also soon compete in a race herself called Formula Female to raise money for cancer research. So there's Nikki, just a face that maybe you wouldn't recognize, or name that maybe you wouldn't recognize. But I think there's so many women in the sport that you wouldn't recognize because they are just in the background doing all the dirty work and doing all the development. When you talk about Kate Gunlack, who is Scott Dixon's fuel engineer, talk about Andrea Mueller, who is the lead engineer over at Team Penske for Brad Keselowski, Amanda Lund, who is a development engineer at Andretti Autosport, where they have 2 drivers in the top 5 in the championship right now in IndyCar. So all of these names aren't recognizable because they're just not out on the forefront and they're not the faces of the race teams. But everyone knows just because you have a face of a race team, there's 100 people behind them working tenfold. So those are just some of the women doing that.
It takes a village, doesn't it?
It does. Raising a kid takes a village, and getting a competitive race team takes a village too. Hopefully more of those villages can involve more women.
Absolutely. And I loved the story I found on the internet. I don't know if you saw this, of a woman in her 70s who got back in a race car. It's something she'd always done, and she was invited to get back into a race car. And 79 years old, and she drove a Formula One car recently. I don't know if you saw that, but that's all about the passion, you know.
Yeah, so see, it's been in her blood for 79 years, and it's going to be with her till the end. I can't imagine the adrenaline rush she got out of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Her name is Rosemary. It is on our Facebook page. So if you're interested,
I will check it out.
Go and watch 79-year-old Rosemary race. Well, she didn't race. She just drove a Formula One car around the track, but I think she got a real buzz out of it, as you said. And Nikki too. You mentioned Nikki Daly, of course. She has a blog on our site. Pitch to Pits is the blog, and she's telling the story of this race that she's going to be racing in after the World Cup hockey. She's going to be racing, as Katie said, in the Formula Females, raising money for cancer in memory of her father. And again, we need more coverage on Wisp Sports, Katie, of motorsports. So are you going to help me out here?
Yeah, let's talk.
Absolutely. We need to get the word out. We need to tell the stories of these women who are in the pits, and we maybe don't see them, or maybe they're hiding behind a helmet and we can't see them. We don't know who these women are. They need to come out into the sunshine, so we need to tell their story.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw that you just announced a partnership with Galvanize, who I've followed them for a long time on social media and just really admire everything Laura Oakman is doing over there with girls wanting to get into the NFL side of reporting. So you've got some great stuff going on at Wisp Sports. I admire what you're doing, Chris.
Well, thank you, Katie. We'd love you to have you partner with us too and spread the word about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Well, thanks for taking the time. The very best of luck with it. We'll be talking more. I know it.
Oh, yes. I totally agree.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And we're thrilled to welcome Fuel the Female as an affiliate partner to support women in motorsport. My thanks again to Katie for coming on the programme, and to our sponsors, Highlands Earache Drops. And as we mentioned in the programme there, you can read Pitch to Pits, Nikki Daly's blog about motor racing and hockey. And that's where you can find out more about her project, Formula Female. And before we go, I do want to mention a new initiative, a partnership that Wisp Sports has formed with Galvanize, Laura Ockman's group of women who are making a career in broadcast journalism. We have found just the medium for us to partner to produce weekly live video shows. And we're very excited about this project, which will launch on August the 8th. And you can find out where you can watch this show and how you can become involved as an audience member on camera. That's at the Facebook page of Engage Women in Sport. And you can also follow that on social media too. We have a Twitter account as well at Engage. You can also follow us on social media, of course, at Wisp Sports. We're on every major platform. And you can also contact us here at Wisp Sports by dropping us a line to info@wispsports.com. We'd love to hear from you if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about any of the shows that we do here at Wisp Sports. We have now over 30 shows and more than 20 hosts around the world, making us the largest women's sports podcast network in the world. Thank you for listening. We know you have a lot of choices when it comes to podcasts, so we do appreciate you supporting us and women in sport everywhere.